Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast, where trauma survivors become healthy thrivers. Each month, we'll feature a theme in the trauma recovery and empowerment field. To promote your recovery, healing, and learning how to build dreams, here's your host, Karen Robinson, transformational coach and therapist.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast. Today, my guest is Melissa Saleh. She is a force of nature, a former lawyer and journalist turned serial entrepreneur. She's masterful at storytelling and advocate for survivors of trauma. With a career spanning technology, media, and brand strategy, she has shaped the narratives of Fortune 500 giants and startups alike, helping them carve out their place in a fast-moving world. As the co-founder of FairPlayAI, she works to promote equity and reduce bias in automated decision making. So welcome to our show, Melissa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's very nice having you. Did I say your last name correctly?
It is pronounced Saleh, so think about it as Sawlay, and from a
Saleh.
phonetically spelled, yeah.
Okay, I apologize for messing it up. I'm very famous for messing up people's names. I usually try to ask and try to practice. I'm sorry I didn't do that.
That's perfectly okay. Thank you for asking the follow-up question.
Yeah. And is there a link that you want people to know about out of the gate on how to reach you? We'll put it in the show notes too.
Sure. Anyone who wants to learn more about my story or my work can visit melissasaleh.com. That's SALEH.
Okay. Yeah, I do have your Instagram, your LinkedIn, and your linked tree. I didn't have that one. Can you say it one more time for me?
It's melissasaleh.com.
Oh, it's not hard. Saleh.com. Okay, got it. So now I have that. All right, let's get started. As you are aware, my podcast is for trauma survivors. It tends to be women listening. There are a few good men that listen. And it's usually complex trauma survivors, meaning women who've had complex throughout their lifespan. Usually my guests are trauma survivors or healers in some way, and sometimes they're both. And I know the trauma survivor, you have some trauma, but have you done any work in the healing modalities?
I've done extensive work in multiple healing modalities, yes.
Okay. As a client or as a provider?
Both. I'm trained in several modalities.
Oh, see? Okay, that is a beautiful marriage there. That's really great to hear. Okay, let's start with what about your trauma are you comfortable in sharing today? And I'm not looking for details. I'm looking for, are you a domestic violence survivor, sexual assault, child abuse survivor? What are you comfortable with sharing today in a broad way?
I appreciate the question. I really do believe that in speaking about our traumas, we are, as Carl Jung would say, shining a light into the darkness. And until we shine that light, the traumas that we do experience, and I always tell people, everyone can be traumatized by something different. One person's trauma may not be traumatic for another person. And then there are the very big events that, quite frankly, would traumatize anyone. I don't know if you've discussed on your show the ACE score, the Adverse Childhood Experience score. I had a pretty high ACE score. And then I had learned to just bottle everything up and go out into the world and just do it, and do it in pain, do it traumatized, just do it. And stiff upper lip and resilience and grit. And I was carrying around everything I was carrying from childhood. And then I embarked on marriage and family. And I wanted a wonderful marriage and I wanted a beautiful family, both things that I had never seen ever. Growing up, I really hadn't seen them in the world, but I wanted them anyway. I just somehow believed that they existed and believed that they could exist for me. I did get married in my early 30s and then almost immediately began trying to get pregnant. I had some crushing early losses. And then in 2013, I got pregnant, and it felt like a miracle. It felt, oh, I have done the work and gotten through the pain and kept on going. And now I am being blessed. Finally, I'm going to have my beautiful baby girl. When I was nearly 9 months pregnant, so far the pregnancy had been progressing seemingly normally. I went into labor in my apartment in Brooklyn. I labored throughout the night in the bathtub. I was waiting for labor to progress to a late enough stage to go to the hospital. In the morning, I went to Mount Sinai Hospital. And when I arrived, my doctors informed me, you are going to have your baby today. And then they listened for her heartbeat. And they then told me, there is no heartbeat. Your baby has just died. And if you do not deliver her now, your life could be in danger as well. Suffice it to say, that day destroyed everything that I thought I knew about this world, about myself, about life. I lost my daughter that day. I lost my marriage. I've written a book that takes you through the story, and it takes you through my story of healing and transcendence. And I lost my marriage that day for reasons described in the book. I lost my city. I had been living in New York City for almost 15 years. I loved New York City, but for various reasons described in the book, there was no, New York City died for me that day. And so then the next morning I wake up and it is as if a bomb has been dropped on my life, on my world. And from then it was just BC and AD. There was my life before and then my life after. And I had to learn a completely different way of living, of existing, of thinking, of being. And in order to have a life that I even wanted to live in the face of grief that honestly, I've gotten very good at handling and processing my grief, but it will be with me for the rest of my life. I've had to make my peace with. I can work through the trauma, working through the loss. I lost my child, so I have to live with that. And I have had to go on such a journey in order to recreate a life and a self, remarry, have 2 healthy children in my 40s entirely naturally, found a company with my husband during the pandemic, and now create this very beautiful life for which I am very blessed. But
I am so happy that things turned around for you.
Thank you.
Because after all that trauma and all that grief, oh my goodness, that was a lot.
It was. But I now, the work that I do and why I'm talking to you and to your audience and to so many is because I learned so many things and I want to share them with others, because everywhere I go now, because I'm so trained, I see trauma. I see every problem in this world as a human problem, and I see every human problem as an unresolved trauma problem. That's just how I see the world now.
Well, it's because there's a lot of fact to that. I know sometimes it can make us a little too guarded and hyper aroused, but there's still a lot of truth with what you're saying. So before we go into your healing journey, where I want to spend that positive energy and time, I do want to hear what has been the impact on your life in all areas of your life has that all that trauma and grief had on you. And I'm thinking of your spiritual life, your medical or physical being, your mental health, your emotions, all of that, your relationships.
Absolutely. That's a great question. And the answer is all of it. All of it basically went to zero. And then I had to rebuild it from scratch. I developed PTSD. I had severe depression. I was in a very rough state. My life basically went to zero. I had founded a company. I had to shut the company down. My financial security practically went to zero. Most of my network, my reputation shot. Also because of the nature of the trauma, it was very taboo. This was 10 years ago. And even today, it's still pretty taboo. People didn't want to hear about this loss. They didn't want to talk about it. I was a reminder of something that people didn't want to talk about. It all went to zero. Now, one of the tools that has been so powerful for me is the tool of reframing and perspective. It went to 0, and that gave me an opportunity to completely rebuild all of it from scratch and rebuild in a way that was far stronger, more empowered, more aligned with who I truly am, more aligned with how I want to show up in the world, with what I want to accomplish in the world. Everything is so different. This relationship is so different. We still go through our trials, but it is fundamentally a different relationship. I am such a different mother. The possibilities for my family are so different. I am Jewish. My husband is Arab Muslim. We are a combined family. I'm not sure I would have had the strength and the sense of self to marry outside my faith and to marry someone who is in an ethnicity that is currently at war with people of my tribe. He is the love of my life, and there's no question. But I don't know if I would have had the courage to stand up to people in my community, to my family, etc., and say, this is who I love, and I don't care what anybody else thinks or says. I don't think I would have had the strength to do that and the sense of self to do that. So the healing journey was far longer than I ever wanted, and far more intense, and often far more difficult. But the results are undeniable, and I am deeply grateful for them.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I think I hate using this word, but it fits. One of the gifts of our trauma is if we're a child living in dysfunction when we grew up. I think my mothering has been so precious because of it. Like, I just love and value and respect my children so deeply, right?
Absolutely.
And I see that on you. I feel that with you too. I have not seen you mother, but I just friggin' know you are like mama bear with your kids.
I am. Two things in response to that. One is, I do believe trauma can be a gift. Now, it's not a gift that you want. Nobody ever. I have two of my closest friends are women that I met in stillbirth and infant loss support group because they had just lost babies weeks before I did. They are some of my dearest friends, but nobody wanted to be in that support group. Nobody wanted to be part of that.
Right.
So I absolutely will never say, oh, trauma is a gift. However, once it does happen, and unfortunately, I believe that just about every human life, when you go through a human life, you are going to experience some trauma. I don't think that anyone gets through this life without going through something. The gift comes if you choose to receive it in the aftermath, because it is. I live such a different life. I heard this wonderful analogy that I think describes my mothering now, that I wouldn't have had the power and the sense of self and embodiment to be before, but I am now. And it's a phrase that was created by a man who he was referring to authoritarian governments, but he made up this analogy of the anaconda in the chandelier. So if you're an authoritarian dictator, let's say, and there's no freedom of the press, you're the anaconda in the chandelier. So everybody in the country is trying to act normal, but they all know that there's an anaconda in the chandelier and it might come down. As a mother, I'm the anaconda in the chandelier. I do not control my children. They wouldn't let me anyway. I have very powerful, strong-willed children. I don't fix things for them. I don't try and mix with their journey or tell them what to do. I try and guide them and act as their guide, their coach, their concierge. And in the world, I am the anaconda in the chandelier. They go into the world, they choose who they want to interact with, the types of places they want to be, etc. And I'm like, great, just so long as everyone knows that these girls have an anaconda in the chandelier. Don't make me come down.
Don't make me.
Don't
It won't be pretty.
And again, the point is to teach them to handle situations on their own. I do not intervene unless the anaconda really does need to come. But I love the metaphor. It feels true and empowering to me. And the anacondas are giant and lazy and they get to just sleep most of the time. So it makes me feel a little Like, oh, I'm
I
depressed. And
really doubt that lazy part is how you're living, but okay.
I'm naturally lazy. So it's taken a lot to get
You
me.
just told me you had two little kids in this short amount of time during the pandemic. That
I
is so
know.
exhausting.
But when I'm in my natural state, I can just like sleep, read, and drink tea for months. But that
That
is not
sounds
been my life.
divine.
It's not been
Yeah,
my life. It's not been my calling. So
maybe retirement.
yeah, to go to college, and since I don't know though, I love my work so much that I don't think I ever want to retire. And that is part of it. Like if you commit to going through trauma, you can build a beautiful life at the end. Is it
That's right.
ever something I would have chosen? No, absolutely not. The worth it question I just find to be a pointless question, because there is no worth it. There is only it happened. So what happens now? And am I going to live a life of sorrow and of trauma? And I had intense trauma in my nervous system. I had to do extraordinary things in order to carry healthy children again. And I did have my daughters entirely naturally at the ages of 42 and 43 because of all the work that I had done. I required no fertility assistance. They were incredibly healthy. And it's proof is in the pudding. Look at the results that I had before when I was carrying all of this trauma and pain, and look at the results afterwards, and look at my life. So I can never tell somebody, I would never tell someone, oh yes, do all the work that I did. Everyone is on their own journey. But if you are listening to this podcast, if you care about the fact that you have undergone trauma, if you have the emotional honesty and the strength to look that in the face, which it takes strength and courage and power to be able to say, I was traumatized and I am open to finding a way through it and seeing what is available for me on the other side. Those are my people, and they tend to be extraordinary people.
Yeah. Are you able to say in a nutshell what modalities or what you focused on in your healing that helped the most? Like, for example, one thing that I often hear is meditation is really super helpful. But there's so many ways to heal, and I'm a believer in doing all the things until you find what works. So tell me
Absolutely.
what worked for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love what you just said, because there is absolutely no one way and there is no one size fits all. It's a journey for everyone. Okay, I'm interested in healing. What's available for me, and then what actually works? Well, at the beginning, my parents are physicians. My grandfather was a physician. I come from Western medicine, intellectualism. Can you see it, hear it, prove it through the scientific method? Has it been published in peer-reviewed journals in the New England Journal of Medicine? That was my upbringing. That was my paradigm for what is true and what is good in this life. That went to zero after this trauma, because I would go to psychiatrists, I would go to therapists. The only thing they had for me was, you will have PTSD for life. You will need to be on medication for life, and give up any idea of carrying another baby. Go adopt. And I said, I'm the kind of person, it is just a deep personality trait of mine, to ask anyone who knew me as a child. It has been this way forever. If you tell me I can't do something that I care about, if you can tell me you're never going to do that, hold my beer, watch me. It
My
motivates
dear.
motivates me to quite literally do what people say is impossible. Western medicine said that me today is impossible. I do not have PTSD. I have two healthy children. I'm in my mid 40s. I'm still able to have more children. Like all the things. Okay, how did I do it? I knew I wanted to have another child, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to do so on all these medications. I threw them all in the trash. I went to my friends from Stillbirth Support Group, and I was like, what do you do? Because they had gotten pregnant very quickly afterwards. And I said, what do I do? My friend said, hey, look, I know you're not going to be into this and you're going to think it's dumb, but I went to a shamanic healer. Here's his name. and his name was Jonathan Hammond. And it was my very first actual experience with energy work and energy healing. He's a former Broadway dancer who became an urban shaman, and he works out of his apartment in West Chelsea. And I went in there and I was like, what is this? And the barometer that I learned that day that guided me through the rest of my healing journey, I don't need to know how it works. I just need to know how I feel before, how I feel during, and how I feel after. That is all that matters. And before, I felt scared, in pain, doubtful. During, I felt in a state of wonder and release. And after, I felt lighter. For the first time, I walked out into the streets of New York City, and I felt a little lighter. I felt like maybe there is still a light. And it took a long time after that. It's certainly not a one shamanic healing.
Right.
I saw him for several more sessions, and then he said, I'm teaching Reiki courses. I think you should explore them. So I started becoming trained in Reiki. Pure energy healing. I also started reading. I'm a copious reader. I started reading Donna Eden. I started reading Marie Manucheri. She is a former oncology nurse who became a professional energy healer. And she has a podcast all about alternative medicine and energy healing. I loved Reiki. I loved the sensation of it, but I'm a writer. I'm such a lover of language that I needed a modality that incorporated language. Writing and speaking are how I understand the world. It's how I process. It's how I connect to the divine spirit, whatever you want to call it. It's also how I connect to pain. I use language, and then that allows me to have the body experience. That's just how I am wired. Everyone is different. So I discovered theta healing, theta meditation, and specifically theta healing created by Vianna Stibel. And it's very verbal. You learn the theta meditation, which is invaluable because it simply puts your brain into a state of peace and of calm. And it allows you to do a lot of rewiring of your nervous system. Now, it took me years of training. I began training in theta healing, and I became relentless in practicing learning because it was the only thing that felt like it could move me forward. And for me, it was incredibly powerful modality. And I continued to study other modalities as well, transcendental meditation, other types of meditation. You really do have to work with the brain and the consciousness and your own consciousness. I'm not sure that there is just another way. But those modalities, once I became very adept, I was able to work on myself, and I could work on myself, pardon the word, but religiously, just nonstop. And I have had many other healers too. I've worked with, I now have enough. The other big training that I want to talk about is intuitive training. When we are children, we are so intuitive. We are like, oh, that would be good for me. Oh, I want to go over here. We're very in flow. We're very in tune with, I like this food. No, I don't like that. Oh, this, etc. And we get the intuition beaten out of it. Like we
really do.
Forced to unlearn our intuition. I reclaimed my intuition, and I trained myself over time. Okay, I'm going to do A/B testing. I'm going to follow my intuition, and I'm going to eat this diet, and I'm going to see what the results are. Intuitive training brought back my fertility. It brought back a lot of my mental health. It's certainly the benefits to my career. People don't understand how I'm able to do what I do. Well, because I have a very highly trained intuition. You want to be an entrepreneur? Having a trained intuition is a superpower. Why do we have iPhones? Steve Jobs he didn't go to Harvard. He didn't have a college degree. He dropped out to be an entrepreneur. What he did have was very good training in transcendental meditation and intuitive decision-making. That's why we have iPhones. That's why Apple is what it is. So these skills are transferable across everything that you do. So intuitive dating is very powerful. Someone can look good on paper and maybe you may have chemistry, but your intuition is always going to tell you. Your body is going to tell you, is this person good for me?
Oh gosh, preach.
It just did.
I kissed a lot of frogs before I found my husband.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
when I finally stopped and really tuned into my intuition and really thought who would be a healthy person for me, then I found him. Huh.
It tends to work that way. And I went back in the dating world in my late 30s with PTSD, grieving my first child, divorced, without a job. I was with no real network, or my reputation had gone to zero. Let's just say I was a bit of a hard sell in the dating market. But I persevered, and I used intuition, and I used meditation, and I had I called in some incredible coaches, and I asked for help when I needed it. That was another big tool, is go find someone who can help me.
That's a superpower in and of its own because we can get really stuck on, I must figure this out myself or I must heal myself. And no, we have all these resources and opportunities. It's actually really intelligent to use our resources. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a book I love. It's for entrepreneurs, and it's about hiring and creating a team, but it's so relevant to all of this. It's called Who, Not How. When you have a problem, it's ask who can help me solve this. Don't ask how do I solve this.
Yeah. I love
Um,
that book too. Yeah.
it's a great book, and it's just a great message for when I'm thinking, oh, I don't know how to do this. Who, not how. Don't look for the how, look for the who. So that helped me enormously with dating. And then I was divinely guided to my partner, and we had been following each other all along. We almost went to the same college. We discovered we were both at the Model UN conference in 8th grade together.
That's funny.
I know, we went to law school near each other. We worked a block from each other in New York and never met. We had been living these sort of parallel lives. And then finally we had both moved to California to follow dreams of working in tech and to rebuild our lives from the East Coast. And that's where we met. It was a long and intensive journey, and I don't want to sugarcoat. There were so many days where I was just like, has any of this been worth it? Will any of this ever amount to anything? Have I just been deluding myself and wasting my time? I had so many of those days. But as Winston Churchill always used to say, when you're going through hell, keep going. And so I found the strength to get up the next day and keep going. And my husband always talks about the waterfall or the windfall effect, where you work and you work and you work and nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden there's the waterfall. And
I really love that moment when
the
shocking, right?
waterfall came, and then I had 2 babies, a new company, and a new marriage. And I was like, wait, what? All of the tools that I learned, I need completely new tools now because this is a whole new level. And then I had to find whole new tools, but at least I had enough sense of how to go find the tools. It was deeply overwhelming for their first 3 years, but
Sure. Yeah.
but we made it in large part because I did have the foundation of how to move through these kinds of things. The journey, I never happy talk and I never sugarcoat. However, I will say, if you are open to doing it, I believe it is the most rewarding and enriching and empowering thing that you could possibly do. I just don't think there is anything more powerful for us than healing our unresolved trauma. I can't tell you how different my life is. I will occasionally, throughout the journey, I would have to do these big energetic releases, and they can be very painful. I would be throwing up. I would be lying on the ground in pain. Your body is quite literally processing all of this out, and it can be very scary and painful when it's happening. But the next day, I would exist in a completely new world. It was like I had been living in darkness and someone had turned on a light. And every time it would happen, the next day there was new light on. And I would love to find, I'm a tech entrepreneur and I am in AI. I would love to find a way to create technology that actually helps humans move through these moments and with less fear and less pain, and so that you can get that light turned on without going through
Okay.
what
I believe you can. I believe you can do it. You have unlimited potential.
think.
I also want you to create a machine that can plug into our skin at night, and overnight it sucks out the cellulite for whatever body part it's on.
Another thing that I will say is the more trauma healing I do, the healthier I am. Because
Yes.
I was using food, absolutely. I was using sugar, caffeine, trans fats,
heroin.
not so much hair. The healthier I am, the more trauma I release, the more I want to choose healthy foods because my body just wants them because I'm not carrying all of that.
Our intuition also tells us what's good to eat. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, of course, that would be great. I think that if we really collectively agree to focus on this as an issue, we can create some extraordinary tools for people that can really help and support and guide. I needed something that was there at 3 a.m. because sometimes I'm having a trauma release at 3 a.m. and I'm alone and I need something to tell me it's going to be okay and take care of yourself and give yourself what you need. And tomorrow you will be all right.
Melissa, I think you're so inspiring. This is so beautiful.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry that we're short on time, but I want you to say a little bit about your book, at least the title and where people can get it. And do you have the one book or do you have more than one?
I have 2 books in process. I'm a writer. I was a professional writer. I still am a professional writer, but I was an editor at the blog, the Freakonomics blog at the New York Times. I was an editor at Newsweek. So writing is a deep love, but I put it on the shelf for a while. So I have 2 books in process. The first is a trauma recovery memoir. It opens with me on my way to the hospital in 2014, and it takes you through that day, and then it takes you through the aftermath. And I pitched the book as Eat, Pray, Love meets The Body Keeps the Score. The first section is New York, and it's my life falling apart in New York and going through all of this trauma. And then the second section is I hit rock bottom, but I was so fortunate. I owned a house in Charleston, South Carolina. Through a series of events, I wound up randomly owning this house in Charleston, South Carolina. So the second section is my journey of just allowing myself to grieve and coming back to life in Charleston. And then I got this incredible call to go move to Silicon Valley and work with Mark Zuckerberg's team to help tell the stories of Facebook and its communities. And what did that include? It included mothers groups. What was one of the biggest topics for mothers groups? Trauma, miscarriage, infertility, infant loss, stillbirth. And Mark Zuckerberg himself and his wife had just experienced 3 miscarriages on their path to having a baby. So that's part 3 of my journey. And I'm in Silicon Valley. I'm trying to date. I'm working at Facebook. I'm trying to rebuild my life and do trauma healing. And then I finally just went, okay, enough. And I made it down to LA. And that's when I stopped life, met my now husband, and did the deep trauma work. So that's the 4th part of the book. And then the book ends with me giving birth to my healthy eldest daughter. So that's the first book. And then the second book is called How to Get Out of Hell. It's more of a sort of step-by-step guide for when you are in that state where you just can't see the light and you don't know if you're ever going to be able to see the light. So
are either of these books
not available
yet?
yet? I'm still writing.
But let me know when they're out because I want to add them to the show notes. And podcasts live forever, so we can add them on anytime. And my family's going to leave without me if I don't end with you now. I am so sorry. It was such a pleasure talking to you.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Stay in touch, okay?
Thank you for listening in today. Please join us next week, same day and time. Also, I would love for you to check out my website, healthrivedream.com.